The silent observer. The quantum resonance detector shouldn't have been showing these readings. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez adjusted her safety goggles and ran the scan again, watching as the same impossible pattern emerged on her holographic display. Every few seconds, a ripple of energy pulsed through Research Station Omega-17, but according to all other instruments, nothing was there. After 3 years stationed on this remote asteroid at the edge of human space, Maya had learned to trust her instincts. Something was deliberately hiding from their sensors, and it had been doing so for far longer than humans had occupied this station. She didn't report the anomaly immediately. Standard protocol would have meant an immediate lockdown, and Maya had seen too many promising discoveries buried under mountains of bureaucratic caution. Instead, she began her own investigation, carefully documenting the energy patterns during her off hours. The breakthrough came during the station's night cycle, when most of the crew was asleep. Maya had modified a standard spectral analyzer with techniques she'd learned from her grandmother, a Karandra who believed in seeing beyond the visible world. The hybrid device, combining cutting-edge technology with principles most of her colleagues would dismiss as superstition, revealed something extraordinary. There, in the supposedly empty xenobiology lab, stood a being unlike anything in humanity's contact records. Its form shifted like starlight through crystal, simultaneously there and not there. Most remarkably, it was taking notes. "I can see you," Maya said softly, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "And I think you've been watching us for a very long time." The being froze, its crystalline form solidifying slightly in what Maya interpreted as shock. When it spoke, its voice resonated directly in her mind, carrying undertones of ancient knowledge and, surprisingly, respect. "In 57 of your years of observation, you are the first to notice me," the being communicated. "I am Kthara, of the Veiled Ones. We have been studying humanity's impact on the galaxy since your first steps into space." Maya kept her hand away from the alarm panel, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her training. "Why haven't you made contact before?" "We needed to understand." Kthara's thoughts carried a mixture of confusion and fascination. "Your species advances so quickly, adapts so readily. You achieve in decades what took others millennia. Some fear this. Others, like myself, believe you may be the catalyst our stagnant galactic society needs." Moving slowly, Maya pulled up her research chair and sat down, maintaining eye contact with the shimmering form before her. "Tell me more," she said, reaching for her tablet to take notes. "Tell me everything." As the station's night cycle continued, Kthara revealed the truth about humanity's place in the galaxy. Humans weren't just newcomers, they were revolutionaries without even knowing it. Their very presence had sparked changes in societies that had remained unchanged for millions of years. "Your recycling technology," Kthara explained, gesturing to the station's waste processing system, "solved a problem my people had theorized about for 10,000 years. You developed it in less than a century, simply because you needed it to survive in space." Maya listened, fascinated, as Kthara described how human innovations had spread through the galaxy's underground networks, inspiring younger species and challenging the dominance of ancient civilizations. But with this influence came danger. "There are those who believe humanity's rate of advancement threatens the galaxy's stability," Kthara warned. "They have watched your progress with growing alarm, and they are preparing to act." "Why tell me this now?" Maya asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "Because you saw me," Kthara's form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "In all my years of observation, no human has ever detected my presence. Your modification of the spectral analyzer was unprecedented. You combined your most advanced technology with principles your own people often dismiss. This adaptability, this willingness to embrace seemingly contradictory approaches, this is what makes humanity unique." As the first rays of artificial dawn began to illuminate the station, Maya realized she faced a choice that would affect not just her own future, but potentially that of human-alien relations. Standard protocol demanded she report this contact immediately. Her instincts told her something else entirely. We need to handle this carefully, she said finally. If there really are forces gathering against humanity, we need to understand the full situation before causing panic. Will you help me? Kthara's form shifted, taking on a more defined shape that reminded Maya of a crystalline humanoid. You continue to surprise me, Lieutenant Rodriguez. Most species would react with fear or aggression to such news. You seek to understand and adapt. Yes, I will help you. Perhaps together we can prevent a conflict that would benefit no one. As they began to plan, Maya couldn't help but smile at the irony. She had joined the research service hoping to make discoveries that would change humanity's understanding of the universe. Instead, she had discovered that humanity itself was the greatest catalyst for change the galaxy had seen in millennia. The question now was whether that change would lead to evolution or destruction. The station's day cycle began, bringing with it the usual bustle of activity. But now Maya knew that in the shadows and empty spaces, other eyes were watching, measuring, judging humanity's impact on the cosmic scale. She had become part of something far larger than herself, and the weight of that responsibility settled over her like a mantle. Kthara's final words before fading into invisibility stayed with her. You have opened a door, Maya Rodriguez. What comes through it will depend largely on what humanity chooses to do next. The next 3 weeks tested every ounce of Maya's discretion and ingenuity. Maintaining the appearance of normal routine while secretly meeting with an invisible alien observer required elaborate planning and careful timing. She converted an unused storage room into their makeshift command center, modifying the security cameras with a loop of empty footage that would make any surveillance expert proud. Kthara's revelations about the galaxy left Maya both exhilarated and deeply concerned. The Veiled Ones weren't the only ancient species watching humanity. A coalition of conservative alien civilizations, calling themselves the Eternal Concordat, viewed human advancement as a virus that needed to be contained before it infected the entire galaxy. They fear what they cannot control, Kthara explained during one of their clandestine meetings. The crystalline being's form rippled with concerned energy. Your species' rate of technological progress terrifies them. Humans solve problems that have stumped other civilizations for millennia, simply because you never learned that these problems were supposed to be impossible. Maya was reviewing data on her tablet when the station's alert system suddenly blared to life. Red warning lights pulsed through the corridors as Commander Chen's voice echoed through the comm system, all personnel to emergency stations. Unknown vessels approaching on intercept course. Kthara's form solidified in alarm. They're here earlier than expected. The Concordat must have discovered my communications. Maya was already moving, her military training kicking in. How many ships? 3 Concordat vessels, carrying what your people would call elite shock troops. They're not here to negotiate, Maya. They're here to make an example. Racing through the corridors, Maya's mind worked furiously. Station Omega-17 had minimal defensive capabilities. It was a research facility, not a military installation. The nearest Earth fleet vessel was at least 6 hours away at maximum speed. They would have to find another way. She burst into the command center where Commander Chen was coordinating the station's emergency protocols. Sir, I need to speak with you immediately. In private. Chen's weathered face showed surprise at her urgency, but he nodded and followed her to his office. Make it quick, Lieutenant. We have unknown hostiles. They're not unknown, sir, Maya interrupted, knowing she was about to shatter multiple protocols. And we have an ally who can help us, but you'll need to keep an open mind. Before Chen could respond, Kthara materialized in the office. The commander's hand instinctively went for his sidearm, but Maya stepped between them. Sir, meet Kthara of the Veiled Ones. They've been studying humanity for decades, and they're here to help us survive what's coming. The next few minutes were a crash course in galactic politics as Maya and Kthara explained the situation. To his credit, Chen adapted quickly to the revelation that his research station had been under alien observation for years. You're telling me these approaching ships want to stop human advancement by destroying our station? Your station represents everything they fear, Cthara confirmed. You're pushing boundaries they believe should remain fixed. But we may have one advantage: they don't know that their presence has been detected, nor that I am here. Chen's tactical mind was already working. Lieutenant Rodriguez, you've been working with our guest. Any suggestions? Maya smiled, an idea forming. Sir, remember that quantum resonance experiment we shut down last month because it was causing unexpected effects with the station's shield harmonics? The one that nearly overloaded our power grid? What about it? What if we deliberately created that interference on a massive scale? Cthara, your people's natural phase-shifting abilities, they operate on similar principles to our quantum shields, don't they? Cthara's crystalline form brightened with understanding. Yes, and if we combine them with your technology. Maya, that's brilliant. Dangerous, but brilliant. The next hour was a blur of activity as they modified the station's defensive systems according to their desperate plan. The approaching Concordat vessels would be expecting an easily overwhelmed research station. Instead, they were about to encounter something unprecedented: human technology combined with ancient alien knowledge in ways neither civilization had imagined possible. As the hostile ships entered firing range, Maya stood at her station, watching the energy readings climb. Beside her, visible only to her enhanced sensors, Cthara helped fine-tune the modifications. The entire station thrummed with power as they prepared to rewrite the rules of what was possible. Commander Chen's voice was steady as he addressed the crew: what we do here today may change the course of human history. Whatever happens, remember that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt and overcome. Stand ready. The first Concordat ship fired, its energy weapons lancing out toward the station. Maya held her breath as their hybrid defense system engaged. The results exceeded even their wildest expectations. The incoming fire didn't just bounce off their shields, it phase-shifted into another dimension before being redirected back at the attacking vessels. The Concordat ships, faced with their own weapons being turned against them by technology that shouldn't exist, fell into disarray. Their commanders are panicking, Cthara reported, monitoring their communications. They cannot comprehend how a primitive human station is doing this. Their entire tactical doctrine is based on assumptions about technological limitations that you just proved wrong. Maya watched as the Concordat vessels attempted to regroup, their formations broken by confusion and fear. Send the message, she told Chen. Let them know that humanity is ready to talk, but we will not be intimidated. As Chen opened a channel to the alien ships, Maya reflected on how quickly everything had changed. In less than a month, she had gone from discovering humanity's first invisible observer to helping defend against an alien attack using hybrid technology that broke half the laws of physics. The Concordat vessels hung in space, their weapons powered down, finally ready to listen. They had come expecting to find primitive humans ripe for conquest. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their ability to imagine solutions that other species thought impossible, and their willingness to reach across the divide between civilizations to make those solutions work. Cthara's voice carried a note of pride. This is why we've been watching you. This moment, this adaptation, this leap forward, this is what humanity brings to the galaxy. Not just technology, but hope that the impossible is simply something that hasn't been tried yet. Maya nodded, knowing that their victory today was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to change, ready or not, and humanity would be at the heart of that change. The only question was what other impossible things they would achieve along the way. The gathering storm. News of Station Omega 17's successful defense against the Concordat spread through both human and alien networks like wildfire. Within days, Earth's diplomatic channels were flooded with messages from previously unknown species, some offering alliances, others demanding explanations. The quiet research station had become the center of a galactic political storm. Maya found herself promoted to Chief of Special Operations, a hastily created position that recognized her unique role in human-alien relations. Her quarters now doubled as a secure communications hub, where she coordinated with Kthara and a growing network of alien allies. The Concordat is regrouping, Kthara reported during one of their late-night strategy sessions. The crystalline beings formed shimmered with worried energy. They're calling what happened here an unacceptable aberration that must be corrected. Our victory has only convinced them that humanity must be stopped before we can share our innovations with other species. Maya studied the holographic star map floating between them, noting the movement patterns of various alien fleets. They're not just preparing for another attack, are they? This is going to be a full-scale assault on human space. Yes, but that's not the worst of it. Kthara manipulated the hologram, zooming in on several key strategic points. They've begun approaching younger species, particularly those who've recently benefited from human innovations. They're offering them a choice: stand with the Concordat against humanity, or face isolation from galactic society. Commander Chen entered the room, his face grim. He'd aged years in the past few weeks, dealing with the political fallout of their revelation. Earth Command has received similar reports. Some of our trading partners are already backing away from existing agreements. They're scared. Maya stood, pacing the room as she thought. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been their ability to think differently, to find solutions where others saw only problems. They needed that creativity now more than ever. What if we could show them something bigger than fear, she said finally. Kthara, you said your people have been watching humanity because we solve problems differently. What's the biggest problem facing the galaxy right now? Not politically, but practically. Kthara's form brightened with interest. The energy crisis of the Outer Rim. Thousands of developing civilizations are struggling because the traditional power sources are becoming scarce. The Concordat controls most of the remaining resources, which is partly why they hold so much influence. And humanity has already been working on alternative energy solutions, Chen added, catching Maya's train of thought. The Martinez-Chen fusion array. It's still experimental, but the initial results are beyond anything the galaxy has seen, Kthara finished. I've studied the principles. Your scientists approached the problem from an entirely new angle. If it works at scale. Maya smiled. Then we show the galaxy that humanity isn't just about breaking rules, we're about solving problems that affect everyone. Commander, how quickly can we get a working prototype? The next few days were a blur of activity. Maya coordinated with Earth's top scientists while Kthara reached out to sympathetic members of various species. They were in a race against time, trying to perfect revolutionary technology while the Concordat gathered its forces. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a junior researcher who'd been lurking quietly in the background of their video conferences, suddenly spoke up during a critical meeting. What if we're thinking too linearly, she asked, her quiet voice carrying surprising authority. We're trying to scale up human technology to solve an alien problem. But what if we combined our approach with principles from multiple species? Not just human and veiled one technology, like our defense system, but something bigger. The idea caught fire. Soon, scientists from a dozen species were contributing insights, each bringing their own unique perspective to the problem. The Martinez-Chen array evolved into something entirely new, a hybrid technology that drew on the scientific principles of multiple civilizations. But the Concordat wasn't idle. As Maya and her growing team worked to perfect their solution, reports of alien fleets moving into position became more frequent. The conservative powers were preparing to strike, determined to stop humanity's influence from spreading further. They've begun jamming communication channels between human colonies, Kthara reported one evening. Several of our potential allies have gone silent, presumably under pressure. The Concordat is trying to isolate us before they attack. Maya stared at the latest prototype of their hybrid energy system. It worked perfectly in tests, producing clean, sustainable power at levels that would transform life for countless civilizations. But would they have time to show the galaxy what was possible? "How long do we have?" she asked. "Days, maybe less. Their fleet movements suggest they're nearly ready." "Maya, there's something else. My people have voted on whether to formally ally with humanity. The decision has divided us deeply." Maya felt her heart sink. Even the veiled ones, who had watched and admired humanity for so long, were struggling with the changes they represented. And the result is still being debated. For the first time in 10,000 years, we cannot reach consensus. Your existence, your way of thinking, it challenges everything we thought we knew about how civilizations should develop. Commander Chen's voice came over the intercom before Maya could respond. "Lieutenant Rodriguez to the command center. Multiple unidentified vessels just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. They're running dark." Maya and Kthara shared a look. The storm they'd been preparing for had finally arrived. But humanity wasn't the same easy target the Concordat had first encountered. They had something now that they'd never had before, allies who understood that progress wasn't something to be feared, but embraced. "Send the signal," Maya ordered as she rushed to her station. "To every species that's been working with us. Show them the data from the energy project. Let them see what we can achieve together. The Concordat wants to keep the galaxy divided and dependent. Let's show everyone a better way." As alarms blared throughout the station, Maya felt a strange calm settle over her. Humanity had never wanted to revolutionize galactic society, they just wanted to explore, learn, and grow. But sometimes the greatest changes come not from trying to change others, but simply from being true to who you are. The real storm was only beginning, but for the first time, Maya was certain they would weather it. Not because of humanity's strength alone, but because they had shown the galaxy something more powerful than fear, hope. Humanity's response. The Concordat's attack began not with weapons, but with silence. Across human space, communication networks went dark one by one. Colony after colony found themselves cut off, isolated in the vast expanse of space. But the aliens had underestimated humanity's capacity for preparation and adaptation. Maya stood in Station Omega 17's newly established Strategic Command Center, watching as emergency protocols she'd helped design swung into action. Quantum entanglement communicators, developed by combining human theoretical physics with veiled one practical experience, kept their core networks alive despite the Concordat's best efforts to isolate them. "They're targeting our infrastructure rather than our military installations," Commander Chen observed, studying the tactical displays. "They think if they can separate our colonies from Earth, we'll be easier to control." "A logical strategy," Kthara agreed, their crystalline form pulsing with analytical energy. "Most species would collapse into chaos if suddenly cut off from their homeworld. But they don't understand how humans operate under pressure." Maya smiled grimly. "We've been preparing for this since we first went to space. Every human colony is designed to function independently if necessary. And now we have something they don't expect." She gestured to a separate display showing the status of Project Unity, their hybrid energy system that had evolved into something far more significant than just a power source. Dozens of alien scientists, inspired by humanity's approach to problem-solving, had contributed to its development. The result was technology that didn't just generate energy, it created connections. Dr. Tanaka's voice came through their quantum link from her lab on Mars. "Final calibrations are complete. The Unity network is ready for full activation. We estimate it will take the Concordat at least 48 hours to realize what we've done." The plan was audacious, typically human in its scope and creativity. While the Concordat focused on traditional warfare, humanity and their allies had been building something unprecedented, a network of Unity devices that would fundamentally change how species interacted with each other. "Begin the activation sequence," Maya ordered. "And send word to our allies. It's time to show the galaxy what real cooperation looks like." Across human space, hidden Unity devices hummed to life. Each one contained elements of technology from multiple species, working in harmony to create effects that should have been impossible. The devices didn't just restore communications, they enhanced them, creating bridges between civilizations that the Concordat couldn't sever. The first signs that their plan was working came from the outer colonies. Alien ships that had been hemming in human settlements suddenly found themselves confronted not just by human defenders, but by vessels from species that had previously stayed neutral. The Unity network had given them more than just technology, it had given them courage. Multiple Concordat fleets are falling back, Chen reported, watching the tactical displays update in real time. They're trying to regroup, but their formations are in disarray. They never expected this level of coordinated resistance. Kthara's form brightened suddenly. News from the Veiled One's Council. The vote is complete. We are formally declaring our alliance with humanity. After 50,000 years of observation, we are choosing to act. Maya felt the weight of the moment. The Veiled Ones were among the oldest civilizations in known space. Their decision would influence countless other species. But there was no time to celebrate, the Concordat's main fleet was still approaching, led by their most powerful warships. They'll strike here next, Maya said, studying the sensor data. They know Omega-17 is where this all started. They'll want to make an example of us. Let them come, Chen replied with quiet confidence. Thanks to you and Kthara, we're not the same station they first attacked. And we're not alone anymore. The Unity network was proving more powerful than even its creators had imagined. As news of its success spread, more species began activating their own devices, joining the growing web of cooperation. Each new connection made the network stronger, more resilient. Dr. Tanaka's research team had discovered something extraordinary. The network wasn't just sharing power and communications. It was sharing ideas, allowing different species to understand each other in ways that had never been possible before. The Concordat's greatest fear was being realized, but not in the way they had imagined. Humanity wasn't infecting the galaxy with chaos, they were catalyzing a new age of innovation and understanding. The station's alert systems blared as the main Concordat fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The massive ships, representing the combined might of the galaxy's most conservative powers, moved into attack formation. Their weapons could reduce Omega-17 to atoms. But Maya wasn't afraid. She looked around the command center at the faces of her crew, human and alien alike, and saw the same determination reflected in all of them. They had created something worth fighting for, worth preserving. All stations, battle positions, Chen ordered. Unity network at full power. Show them what happens when you try to stop progress. As the Concordat fleet moved into range, Maya thought about how far they'd come. A few months ago, she had been the first human to notice an invisible observer. Now she stood at the heart of a revolution that was transforming galactic society. Not through conquest or dominance, but through humanity's greatest strengths, creativity, adaptability, and the ability to inspire others to dream bigger. The first shots of the battle were about to be fired, but Maya knew the real victory had already been achieved. The Concordat could destroy their station, even defeat their fleets, but they couldn't stop the change that had begun. The galaxy had seen what was possible when species worked together, when they chose cooperation over fear. Unity network holding steady, Kthara reported. All allied ships in position. The Concordat is transmitting a demand for our surrender. Maya straightened her uniform and shared a look with Commander Chen. Send our response, she said. Tell them humanity is ready to talk whenever they're ready to listen. But we will not surrender our right to grow, to innovate, to connect. Those aren't just human rights, they're the rights of all sentient beings. The Concordat's response would determine the immediate future, but the long-term outcome was already decided. Humanity had shown the galaxy a new way forward, and there was no going back. The only question was how many would need to be convinced by words, and how many by example. Evolution of understanding. The Concordat's massive fleet hung in space before Station Omega-17, their weapons primed, their ultimatum delivered. The moment stretched like a thread pulled too tight, ready to snap. Then, something unprecedented happened. A single ship from the Concordat fleet broke formation, moving to position itself between the fleet and the station. "We're receiving a transmission," Commander Chen announced, his voice tight with surprise. "It's from High Elder Vexthor of the Meridian Conclave. They're requesting permission to dock." Maya shared a startled look with Kthara. The Meridian Conclave was one of the oldest members of the Concordat, renowned for their rigid adherence to traditional ways. Their High Elder's presence here was extraordinary. "Permission granted," Maya replied, her mind racing with possibilities. "Kthara, would you escort our guest to the conference room?" The High Elder proved to be a towering figure in elaborate robes that seemed to absorb light. Their ancient eyes studied Maya with an intensity that made her feel like a specimen under a microscope. "We have been monitoring your Unity network," Vexthor stated without preamble. "What you have created, it should not be possible. The combining of technologies from multiple species, the harmony you have achieved, our scientists insisted it would lead to catastrophic failures." "But it didn't," Maya replied simply. "Because we weren't trying to prove anything. We just wanted to solve problems, to help people. Sometimes the best solutions come when you stop worrying about what should be impossible." The High Elder moved to the observation window, watching as more ships from the Concordat fleet began breaking formation. "Do you know why we formed the Concordat, Lieutenant Rodriguez? Not to maintain power, as many believe, but to prevent chaos. We have seen civilizations destroy themselves by advancing too quickly, by reaching for knowledge they weren't ready to handle." With respect, Maya countered, "That's not your decision to make. Every species has the right to determine its own path. Even if that path leads to destruction. Even then. But what we've shown with the Unity network is that there's another option. We can advance together, supporting each other, learning from each other's mistakes and successes." Kthara moved forward, their crystalline form glowing softly. "This is why my people chose to reveal ourselves. Humanity doesn't just advance, they inspire others to advance with them. They turn competition into cooperation." Vexthor turned from the window, their ancient eyes now focused on the Unity network's display. The network had grown beyond anyone's expectations, linking thousands of worlds in a web of shared knowledge and resources. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together, solving problems that had plagued the galaxy for generations. "The younger races are already calling this the Great Awakening," the High Elder mused. "They say humanity has sparked an age of unprecedented cooperation and innovation. Perhaps we were wrong to fear change so much that we tried to prevent it entirely." Maya stepped forward, offering a data crystal. "It's not too late to be part of this change. The Unity network has room for everyone, including the Concordat. Your knowledge, your experience, they're invaluable. Help us guide this transformation instead of trying to stop it." The next few hours were a blur of negotiations, not just with Vexthor but with representatives from across the galaxy. The Concordat fleet gradually dispersed, replaced by ships from dozens of species eager to participate in what was becoming the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Commander Chen found Maya in her quarters later, staring out at the stars. "Not bad for someone who started out just noticing something unusual on a sensor reading," he said with a smile. Maya laughed. "I still can't believe how much has changed in such a short time. Kthara told me the Veiled Ones are already calling this the beginning of a new galactic age." Speaking of Kthara. Chen nodded toward the seemingly empty corner of the room. Kthara materialized, their form more solid than ever before. "We no longer see the need to hide. Humanity has shown us that true strength comes from being open to new possibilities, new connections." The Unity network's display pulsed with activity, showing countless points of light representing different civilizations working together. Problems that had seemed insurmountable were being solved through combined effort. Species that had been stuck at technological plateaus for millennia were advancing again, inspired by humanity's example. You know, Maya said thoughtfully, when I first discovered Kthara, I thought I had made first contact with an alien species. But what we really discovered was something much more important. We discovered that the galaxy was ready for change. It just needed someone to take the first step. A message flashed across her screen. The first graduates of the new Interspecies Innovation Academy were ready to begin their work. Young minds from across the galaxy, coming together to learn from each other, to dream up new possibilities. The Concordat was right about one thing, Kthara observed. Humanity did change everything. Just not in the way they feared. You didn't conquer or dominate, you inspired. You showed the galaxy that progress doesn't have to be feared when it's shared. Maya watched as another cluster of lights joined the Unity network. Each point represented not just a world or a species, but a choice to embrace change, to work together, to believe in something bigger than ancient fears and rivalries. The station's observation deck had become a symbol of this new era. Representatives from dozens of species gathered there daily, working together on projects that would have been impossible just months ago. Maya often found herself standing there, remembering the moment she first noticed something unusual in her sensor readings. No one noticed her for years, she murmured, thinking of how Kthara had watched humanity in secret for so long. Until one human changed everything. But it wasn't just me, was it? It was all of us, every human who ever looked at an impossible problem and thought, maybe we can solve this if we try something new. The Unity network pulsed with life, a testament to what was possible when fear gave way to hope, when isolation gave way to connection. Humanity had given the galaxy something it desperately needed, not just technology or innovation, but the courage to imagine a better future. And somewhere out there, other species were watching, waiting, wondering if they too should step out of the shadows. The door was open now, and the galaxy would never be the same.